Imagine standing under the harsh fluorescent glare of a grocery store parking lot. It's 11:15 at night. You're alone.
Just immediately
One,
terrifying.
you're holding this heavy plastic payphone receiver to your ear, talking to your fiance. And then, from the darkness just beyond the streetlights, this beat-up, late 60s Ford pickup truck emerges.
Gives me chills.
And it starts slowly circling the block, like over and over. You notice the driver's just staring at you. He's this scruffy man in overalls and a baseball cap.
I mean, you're trapped.
Exactly. He pulls up right next to your phone booth, cuts the engine, and gets out with a flashlight. And remember, in 1991, you can't just, hang up your cell phone and walk to your car while dialing 911.
Yeah, not a little.
You are literally tethered to that spot by a coiled metal cord armed with, what, the change in your pocket?
It's the absolute definition of a nightmare unfolding in real time. I mean, we are looking at a sequence of events today that just shatters your understanding of safety and, honestly, human error in the insane lengths people go to cover up a mistake.
Yeah, it's wild. But before we dive right into today's deep dive, just a quick disclaimer directly to you, the listener.
Right. Very important.
Because this case remains completely unresolved and it involves some really complex criminal theories, we are impartially reporting the facts, witness statements, and, the theories contained in our provided sources.
We're not taking sides here.
Exactly. We are not officially endorsing any specific accusations against the individuals we'll be talking about. We're just looking at the logic and the facts on the table.
So our mission today is to unpack this massive stack of sources we have. We've got news archives, police investigation transcripts, missing persons databases, and a bunch of true crime deep dives.
Oh yeah, it's a huge stack.
We're piecing together the terrifying 1991 abduction of 20-year-old Angela Hammond. We really want to analyze the desperate chase her fiancé initiated, the regional dragnet that pulled in known serial killers, and this bizarre 2021 bombshell about a cut-and-paste threat letter.
Yeah, that 2021 update is bonkers. But okay, let's set the stage. The setting is April 4th, 1991 in Clinton, Missouri.
A little small town.
Very small. The news archives paint Clinton as this quiet, safe farming town of about 9,000 people. The kind of place where you just don't lock your doors.
Right. Everyone knows everyone.
Exactly. So Angela's 20 years old. She's 4 months pregnant and deeply in love with her 18-year-old fiancé, Rob Schaefer. They'd been at a family barbecue earlier that evening.
Just a totally normal night.
Totally normal. Around 9:00 p.m., she drops Rob at his house so he can babysit his younger brother. Then she spends a few hours with her best friend, Kyla. She drops Kyla off, and then around 11:15, she stops at the Food Barn payphone.
Which, I have to say, true crime bloggers and armchair detectives, they constantly debate this specific moment in the forums.
Oh, I know. The whole logically why use a payphone at night thing.
Yeah. They're always asking, why would a pregnant woman stop at a payphone late at night instead of just going home?
It's easy to judge from 2024.
Exactly. You have to step out of the modern mindset. Angela and Rob had just moved into a mobile home together, and they simply didn't have a landline installed yet.
Right. No home phone, obviously no cell phone.
And the Food Barn on East Jefferson Street was centrally located, it was super well lit, and only 7 blocks from Rob's house. She just wanted to call him, say she was too tired to meet up, and that she was heading home to take a bath.
Makes total logical sense. So the transcripts of Rob's later interviews detail exactly what happens on that call. Angela describes this truck circling the lot. It's a 2-tone green Ford pickup.
Creepy.
And she gives incredibly specific details to Rob. She notes it doesn't have a front license plate, which honestly is something you only really notice if the vehicle is facing you aggressively.
That's a really good point. She was paying attention.
And here is the most crucial detail of this entire case. The back window is entirely covered by a custom mural of a fish jumping out of water.
A giant fish decal. I mean, the psychological terror of those minutes, it's just hard to overstate. When the man finally parks and gets out with a flashlight, he starts searching the ground near his tires.
And Rob, who is listening from his house, he tries to rationalize it, which is what any logical person would do.
Right, you don't jump straight to murder.
No, it's a safe small town. You assume the guy dropped his keys. So Redden suggests the man might just need to use the other payphone. He asks Angela to check if he needs the line.
Which is so heartbreaking in retrospect.
It is. But Angela asks the guy, and the man says no, he'll try again later. So they just go back to their conversation. But then the timeline just completely implodes.
Oh, God.
Rob hears a blood-curdling scream. The phone clatters against the metal booth. Then a male voice picks up the receiver and says, I didn't need to use the phone anyway, and the line goes dead.
I can't even, that is just so chilling.
It's a movie villain line, but it happened in real life.
And Rob's reaction is just instantaneous. The sources really emphasize that he doesn't waste a single second trying to call the police. He doesn't even hang up his own phone. He drops the receiver, sprints out his front door, and jumps right into his car. He lives straight south of the grocery store, so he just rockets north up 2nd Street.
And the timing here, if you look at the map, it's agonizingly close. Because as Rob is speeding north, a green pickup truck flies past him heading south.
Going the opposite way.
Yes. And from the open window of that passing truck, Rob actually hears Angela scream his name. She yells, "Robbie!"
Oh, my heart. He was literally feet away from her.
Inches, basically.
The adrenaline in that moment must have been just blinding. He immediately attempts to turn his vehicle around to give chase, but in doing so, he suffers a catastrophic mechanical failure.
Yep, the transmission goes.
His transmission just breaks down, and his car eventually dies completely on the side of the road.
Now, I see this detail hotly debated in a lot of the sources. Skeptics look at this and go, oh, the fiancé's car conveniently breaks down at the exact moment he could have been a hero. Their radar just goes absolutely crazy.
I mean, I get it. Statistically, the significant other is usually the prime suspect.
Sure.
And true crime analysts point out that an alibi involving a broken car during a high-speed chase sounds like, it was scripted for a Hollywood movie. It's a little too convenient.
And the police certainly thought so, too. They brought Rob in immediately and interrogated him for 5 grueling hours. They fully suspected he murdered Angela and fabricated the entire payphone chase to cover his tracks.
Which is standard procedure, but still.
But see, this is why the skepticism ignores pure physical mechanics. As a car guy, I look at what actually happens to a vehicle in that scenario. Ryan didn't just casually hit the brakes and do a safe 3-point turn.
Right, he was panicked.
He performed what's called a reverse slam, or a neutral drop, while traveling at a high rate of speed. Think about it logically. When your drive shaft is spinning forward at 40 miles an hour, and you aggressively jam the gear selector into reverse, you are forcing the transmission's planetary gears to violently attempt to spin in the exact opposite direction. The physical torque literally shears the solid metal teeth off the gears inside the casing.
Oh, wow. So it just shreds itself?
It destroys the transmission instantly. Honestly, it is a mechanical miracle. He even managed to chase the truck for 2 miles down Calvert Drive before the car completely immobilized itself.
That makes total sense when you explain it that way. And, the FBI did get involved. They administered both a polygraph and a voice stress test to Rob.
Yep, cleared him completely.
Exactly. A polygraph measures physiological stress like heart rate and sweat, but the voice stress test zeroes in on microtremors in the vocal cords.
How does that work?
Well, when someone is engaged in deception, the brain's fight-or-flight response actually suppresses those involuntary tremors. It's really hard to fake.
Yeah.
And Rob passed both tests definitively.
Plus, his story was completely corroborated by independent witnesses. A passing motorist, Dorothy Skinner, picked Rob up on the side of the road right where his crippled car sat.
Thank goodness for her.
And furthermore, 2 young women, Michelle and Jennifer, they actually came forward too. They had been driving around that night and pulled into the food barn parking lot right before the abduction because they saw Angela's Mustang and thought she was a friend of theirs.
That is such a huge break for the case, because they got a terrifyingly clear look at the man.
Yes, they did.
They confirmed the scruffy beard, the glasses, the baseball cap, and they confirmed the green truck with the massive 5th decal.
You can't make that up.
And they also told investigators they had seen that exact same truck 2 nights earlier slowly cruising the streets at like 5 miles per hour.
Just creeping around.
Yeah. So this wasn't some crime of passion by a fiancé. This was a calculated predator stalking the town.
Which kicks off the massive search. But the local search yielded absolutely nothing. The Missouri State Highway Patrol ran the registration records for every vehicle matching the description of a late 60s to early 70s green Ford pickup.
That must have taken forever in 1991.
Oh, checking 1,600 vehicles meant manually cross-referencing paper records and physically locating the cars, and they found 0 trace of the fish mural truck. 0.
Which is insane for such a specific vehicle.
Completely. So the failure to locate the vehicle locally forced investigators to expand their radius. And when you zoom out on the Missouri map in the early 90s, a much darker pattern emerges.
It really does. Investigators realized Henry County wasn't an isolated incident. There were two other highly disturbing unsolved abductions within just 100 miles of Clinton, happening just months prior.
The timeline is tight.
It's very tight. In January 1991, 42-year-old Trudy Darby was working alone at a convenience store in Max Creek, Missouri. She called her son to report a suspicious man loitering outside. 10 minutes later, she was gone.
Awful.
Her nude body was found in a river 2 days later. She'd been shot twice in the head.
And then, just weeks later in February, 30-year-old Cheryl Ann Kenny vanished after closing her convenience store in Nevada, Missouri.
Right. And witnesses there reported seeing a heavy-set, bearded man in a pickup truck watching the store. She was never found.
So you have January, February, April. It's a clear escalation.
Exactly. This sequence led the true crime community and law enforcement to seriously consider the work of a serial killer. The sources highlight several chilling suspects, honestly.
What were they looking at?
Well, Jesse Rush and Marvin Chaney were eventually convicted of Trudy Darby's murder, with Rush actually bragging in prison letters about burying other women.
Horrible.
Then there was Kenneth McDuff, a known serial killer operating out of Texas who was living just 65 miles away in Kansas City around the time Angela vanished.
Okay, that's a solid proximity.
But the name that completely dominates the blog posts and investigative articles is Larry Dwayne Hall.
Ah, Larry Hall. I've read a lot about him.
His methodology just fits the geographical profile so well. He was notorious for stalking small towns across the Midwest. He attended Civil War reenactments as a cover, driving thousands of miles and specifically targeting vulnerable women who were alone at laundromats or convenience stores.
He fits the victimology.
Exactly. And an author who extensively researched Hall's crimes compared the police composite sketch of Angela's abductor to Hall's 1994 booking photo. The resemblance is uncanny. The thick glasses, the unkempt beard, the facial structure. And he confessed to dozens of murders.
Okay, I hear you, and the sketch resemblance is definitely weird. But we have to evaluate the logic of the getaway vehicle here.
You're hung up on the truck.
I am 100% hung up on the truck. A successful serial killer survives by blending in. Larry Hall predominantly used Dodge vans to commit his crimes.
Which makes sense for what he was doing.
Right. A van allows an abductor to pull a victim inside, shut the heavy metal doors, and create an invisible mobile crime scene. Driving a beat-up, two-tone green pickup truck with a giant custom-painted fish leaping out of water across the entire back window is the exact opposite of stealth.
It is pretty flashy.
It is a rolling billboard. What kind of criminal mastermind predator chooses a highly identifiable vehicle that thousands of people could spot on the highway?
That's a fair point. It's not exactly low profile.
Furthermore, how do you completely vanish a truck like that? Unless it was driven straight into a deep quarry or crushed into a cube at a private salvage yard the next morning or buried whole underground, a neighbor or a mechanic would have seen it.
Someone had to have noticed it.
The police checked 1,600 vehicles. A vehicle that conspicuous doesn't just evaporate unless the person driving it had immense resources to hide it immediately. Which brings me to the next massive update.
Yes. The mystery of the vanishing truck stole the investigation for 30 years. The case went completely cold, the leads dried up, and then, in April 2021, the Clinton Police Department held a 30th anniversary press conference.
And dropped a total bombshell.
They absolutely did. They released a bombshell that completely rewrote the theories of the case. They revealed a lead they had kept closely guarded for decades. A theory of mistaken identity tied directly to a massive narcotics operation.
Which is just, you couldn't write a wilder script. The sources detail this high-stakes drug ring operating in the Lake of the Ozarks area.
Which isn't that far away.
Right. And a confidential informant, a CI, had provided testimony that helped federal and local authorities dismantle this operation. After the court case, the CI's identity became known to the criminals he put away.
And shortly after the trial, this informant received a chilling piece of mail. It was a cut-and-paste threat letter using words literally sliced out of magazines to avoid any handwriting analysis.
Like something straight out of an 80s thriller.
Literally.
Yeah.
But the postmark on the envelope was stamped April 4th, 1991, the exact day Angela Hammond was abducted.
The exact same day. And the text of the letter, which police finally released to the public in 2021, is incredibly precise. It starts by addressing the informant by his actual court-issued CI number.
So they knew exactly who he was.
Oh, yeah. It says, "We know who you are. People like you deserve what you get." But it's the next line that changes everything. It reads, "We know where your foxy daughter is at. She will see us soon. Tell." And it inserts the wife's name here. "She has our deepest sympathy in her further loss. Goodbye."
The letter specifically names the informant's estranged wife. It's specifically threatens his daughter. And the absolute devastating twist here is that the informant's daughter had recently moved to Clinton, Missouri,
Yep.
and her name was Angela.
Boom.
Yeah.
Two Angelas in a tiny town. Police stated that the informant's daughter and Angela Hammond shared striking physical similarities. They were around the same age, had the same build, and lived in the same farming town.
It's just so tragic.
So the theory police are actively pursuing is that the drug cartel hired someone to kidnap the informant's daughter as brutal retaliation, and that person grabbed the wrong Angela.
And adding massive weight to this theory is a phone call the police received in late 2020 or early 2021. An anonymous caller left a detailed voicemail containing highly specific information about that cut-and-paste letter.
Information that wasn't public.
Exactly. Details that had never been released to the public at that point.
Right.
The caller even provided 2 names associated with the drug ring. But they didn't leave any contact information, and police have been issuing public pleas for this person to call back ever since.
Which is huge. But we need to analyze the mechanics of this cartel hit theory, too, because it presents a lot of contradictions for me.
You're skeptical of the cartel angle.
Well, logically, if a high-level narcotics ring orders a retaliatory kidnapping, the assumption is that it would be executed by a professional. Does a professional hitman drive into a town of 9,000 people, spot a random girl at a payphone, somehow magically guess her first name is Angela, and abduct her without verifying her identity or her address?
That's a lot of leaps.
It's insane. That level of sloppiness feels completely at odds with the sophisticated drug syndicate.
Well, I think you're assuming the cartel sent a top-tier professional, like a movie assassin.
Fair.
The drug operations in the rural Ozarks in the early 90s often relied on local muscle. They didn't necessarily import a hitman, They probably hired a local guy who knew the back roads.
Okay, I can see that.
This local hire is given a rough description.
Yeah.
Look for a young, attractive woman named Angela who recently moved to Clinton. He stakes out the town in his own everyday vehicle.
The green fish truck.
Exactly. The local hire theory explains the highly visible truck. It explains the sloppiness entirely. He's driving around, maybe he overhears her say her name on the payphone, or maybe he just panics because she perfectly matches the physical description he was given.
He sees a young girl at a payphone and jumps a gun.
Right. He pulls up, uses the flashlight to try and get a better look at her face, or maybe check if she dropped a piece of mail with an address on it. If he's getting jumpy, his adrenaline is spiking, and he just decides to grab the first match he sees and run. Human error plays a massive role in criminal enterprises.
It really does. And the implications of that human error are profoundly tragic. If this mistaken identity theory is the truth, Angela Hammond and her unborn child were just collateral damage.
Just devastating.
They lost their lives simply because they had the wrong name in the wrong town on the wrong night.
And the collateral damage extends to the families left behind, waiting for answers that never come. Angela's mother, Marcia Cook, spent 30 years keeping her daughter's name in the press. She tragically passed away in 2021 at the age of 66.
That's so sad.
It was just 6 weeks after the 30th anniversary of the disappearance, and shortly after, the police finally released the information about the informant's letter. She went her entire life never knowing what happened to her child. And Angela's father, Chris, he spent weeks organizing search parties and driving back roads until he was physically exhausted.
And then there is the psychological toll on Rob Schaefer. He has carried an unimaginable burden for over 3 decades.
I can't even imagine.
He has to wake up every single day remembering the sound of the woman he loved, screaming his name as she was driven away into the dark. He was fast enough to react. He was brave enough to chase down a kidnapper. But a mechanical failure of a transmission gear stopped him from saving his family.
Rob gave an interview to Unsolved Mysteries where he talked about the visceral guilt of those moments. He said the hardest part is knowing you were close enough to stop him, but the job just didn't get done.
That's heavy.
That feeling of helplessness, even when you pushed yourself and your vehicle to the absolute breaking point, it just leaves a permanent scar.
So, why does a cold case from 1991 remain so relevant for you, the listener, today? Because it perfectly illustrates the fragility of the truth. It proves that the key to blowing this case wide open, a physical, tangible green truck with a giant fish painted on the window, is not a ghost.
No, it existed.
Someone painted that mural, someone sold that truck, someone eventually crushed it, hid it, or buried it.
And a secret that large requires accomplices. The anonymous caller who left the voicemail about the narcotics letter in 2020 proves that people are still holding on to the pieces of this puzzle.
They know something.
The passage of time often weighs heavily on the conscience.
Yeah.
All it takes is one person deciding they no longer want to carry the weight of that secret.
And I want you to consider the psychological fallout of the mistaken identity theory for a second. If this truly was a cartel-related abduction and they grabbed the wrong case, Angela, what happened the exact second the abductors or their bosses realized the catastrophic mistake they had made?
Oh, wow. The leverage they wanted against the informant was completely gone.
The leverage was gone, and they suddenly found themselves holding an innocent pregnant woman while the FBI and state patrols swarmed the entire region. Think about the mechanics of that panic.
It would be pure chaos.
Did the sheer terror of realizing they had botched the job trigger a cover-up so extreme, so well funded by cartel money that it defies normal logic? Did the chaos of that one human error force them to completely eradicate the truck and hide the evidence so flawlessly that it is the very reason neither the vehicle nor Angela has been found in over 30 years?
It is a terrifying thought to leave on.
It is. We ask you to keep questioning the narratives, look closely at the details around you, and join us for the next deep dive.